Welcome back to my channel. My name is Ray, and we are here to watch the penultimate episode, episode 15 of Desire, the series. Wow, I can't believe we've made it here, you guys. We are in the final 2 episodes of this show. It's been quite the ride, right? I've thoroughly enjoyed myself, though. I don't know. It's just been, like super invested and super interested in seeing where the story went. And, I've looked forward to these episodes every week that they've come out. So, episode 15 just dropped today. I'm filming this on the same day that it released. And then next week, we'll have episode 16. You guys are about 5 episodes behind me on Patreon, and even more, like 10 episodes behind me on YouTube. It just took me a little while to start editing it. It's the editing, you guys. I say this every time, but it's always, the filming is fairly straightforward and easy. It's the editing afterwards that takes a lot out of me and takes me a long time, which is why I have to start shows like 3 or 4 weeks at the minimum behind their airing. I just can't do a filming and then edit immediately the day after. Like, I just don't have that time. Once I get enough, I have enough coming in that I can support, like, paying for an editor for some of the videos, then maybe I can start doing releases closer to their airtime. But right now, it's just not feasible with it just being me who does it. So you guys are just gonna have to, I'm sorry. I know it's not great for building a channel, but it's fine. I'll be okay. All right, enough channel talk. Let's talk about last episode. Last episode, we had, this fucking jabroni brother attack Sheng Xiaoyo and Huang, incidentally, who was there. He wasn't planning on Huang to be there, but he was. But he was like, oh, it's just some Omega. Even though the guys he hired before definitely tried to kill this same Omega, and they were like, he's not an Omega, yo. Like, they don't know that he's an Enigma, but they thought he was an S tier, or S class, whichever you want to say, alpha. And they absolutely told him that, and because he's a fucking idiot, he didn't believe the people that he hired. And then he tried to, like, because he knew his face. He had pictures of Huang all over earlier in the series. So he knew who the hell this was. And he just would not believe that this man was an alpha. Which is his loss. Because, So we don't know what happened at the end. I mean, I don't think Huang shot him in the face or anything. But I'm sure he, beat him up some more, terrorized him some more. And then on the other side, Gao Tu still quitting, and Sheng Xiao, I was about to say Sheng Xiao, Shimen Lan, is, I don't know, texting him, getting blocked, still unable to express his feelings appropriately, so he's about to lose the love of his life, so, rip to him, I guess. Anyway, I'm ready to watch this episode. I'm super excited. Let's just get into episode 15. Yeah. So he finally answered. Ooh. And then he deleted the nice comment because he's a fucking idiot. You know what? You don't... Whatever, man. Like, I'm so over him. Whatever, man. He does not deserve this man on a variety of levels. Yeah. Gao Tu, oh god, the narration that I hate. I really hate this narrative device. Anyway, I'm not saying that Gao Tu is perfect or, blameless in this situation, because he does have some responsibility for how this shit is going. Both of them are so fucking frustrating. Yeah, I bet. Listen to your bestie. You have a crush on this man. Just confess your love. Sir, Jesus Christ. 10 years of this. Over 10 years. I hate him. We are too far into this show for us to be having scenes like this. I'm so sorry.
这个点儿应该醒了吧？
I don't find this that compelling anymore.
怎么还没回消息？
He's gone, sir.
高图，干嘛不回复？
Like, there's a part of me that wishes that this part of the story had happened earlier so that he could wise up. Because it's clear that he's not going to wise up about how he feels until Gaotu is completely gone, which is what's happening right now. He's ghosting the shit out of him. And he needs... It was the fact that Gaotu was always by his side, and so he never had to, like, challenge his feelings, that it's gone on for so long, for like 10 years. Like, in a certain way, they both were kind of enabling each other by just being in each other's presence while not moving forward a step at all.
以后别联系了，谁稀罕？
And you're just, yeah, this is going to work out, right? Like, you're just going to lean more into being an asshole? I do want to say something about these two. I'm going to pause right here because I think it's an interesting mental exercise. We as the audience now know that they are over 90% compatible. I don't think they know that because we only know that because of the dialogue from that random couple in the hotel. And, if they're over, it would only be dangerous if he met an alpha who was over 90% compatible with him. And then, of course, immediately after that, Shyamalan showed up and started sweating. So we know that. They don't know that. I wonder, and what we also know is that both of them had never been in a relationship with anyone ever, They never dated. They never had sex. Both of them were completely, virgins, et cetera, et cetera. Like, not just sexually, but also romantically. They'd never been with anybody. Do we think that the reason that they were able to last like 10 years was because they were near each other? Like, they have over 90% compatibility, and both of them were able, because in this world there is a biological, a physical, a health reason to have constant sex. That's how a megaverse works. It's not just, oh, I want to have sex with somebody. It's no, every 2 to 3 months I have to have sex with somebody, or I start to display adverse physical effects from it, right? When you have ruts or heats and you don't have a sexual partner, your body starts to actually show that you are not having regular sex. Like, you start to get ill or you get tired. It's really difficult, et cetera, et cetera. There's like a literal need to have sex in this world. And people use like supplements or dolls and stuff like that to try and stave off the adverse effects that happen when you don't have sex during a heat or during a rut. But at the end of the day, there's a biological imperative to mate with somebody, literally, and to especially mate with somebody with a high compatibility. And when you don't, you start to show those effects. Obviously, we know that Gaotu has been abusing suppressants, et cetera, so his physical deterioration was much quicker. But do we think that the reason that Shyamalan was able to go so long without ever having sex with an Omega during a rut, or any kind of person during a rut, was because Gaotu was by his side, kind of latently dosing him with pheromones, with over 90% compatible pheromones? and vice versa. Like, do we think that, let's say, Gao Tu was abusing all these suppressants for years and years, but he wasn't near Shyamalan or another alpha who was over 90% compatible, and was just on his own, do we think he would have died earlier? Do we think that literally by being near Shyamalan and constantly being dosed with his alpha pheromones like for like 10 years actually probably kept Gao Tu alive? I've been thinking about it for a few episodes. Like, I feel like he probably would have died if he hadn't, like been in constant contact with Shyamalan. So it's this kind of catch-22, right? Like, they are near each other, but they aren't progressing emotionally or romantically, but they like physically need each other in order to survive. There's something interesting in that. I'm over his attitude. I'm actually over both their attitudes in terms of this relationship, because we're in episode 15 and we're still doing the same shit that we were doing in episode 6. And that's not interesting to me. But the mechanics of the lore is super interesting. And I'm interested in whether or not there's a scenario where they weren't in each other's lives. And Gao Tu, because he was abusing suppressants for so long, just fucking dies, And Shyamalan like starts to go crazy because he's not having sex during his ruts. Maybe Shyamalan uses a spray, an omega spray, like the doctor prescribed to Sheng Xiaoyou, and that helped him get through his ruts all these years. But I still feel like there's something there, like him smelling, constantly being in the presence of an omega who was over 90% compatible actually probably helped him survive for as long as he did without being a virgin. Because we know that Sheng Xiaoyou had sex pretty much with different partners every rut, but I mean, he also has a biological imperative to have sex with an omega, or at least with someone who is over 90% compatible to him for his ruts in order to get through them. And it's pretty much implied that he didn't fall in love with anybody he was having sex with. Well, it was stated that, but it was implied that he pretty much only really had sex with people during ruts, which was like, what, three or four times a year, which lines up with the idea of him having like 30, 32, 33 partners. If he's basically having sex with a different omega every time he has a rut, but is not really dating them beyond the week that he has a rut, then that would line up to him having the amount of partners that he has, because he's not interested in love. And, et cetera, except for like 2 people. He's only really dated 2 people before Huang. I mean, I don't know if we want to call Shushin a date, but, close, I guess. I don't know. There's something interesting to think about the difference between the biological imperative to be with a compatible partner versus the emotional imperative, the emotional need to be with a partner, and how that's so different for Gao Tu and Shyamalan. Like, those things don't line up with each other at all for them, which is why they're having this like this complete disconnect in their relationship. It's because they aren't actually feeding both of those sides of themselves. Anyway, I don't know. I think that's interesting. All right, let's keep going. Yeah, the pacing on this couple, I just needed it to be different. Blowing up his phone with garbage that doesn't matter because he's trying to use these kind of ideas of being indebted to him or owing him as a way to keep him close, instead of just confessing how he feels, because he hasn't been to a therapist to work out his shit as a grown man. Is it him calling? Oh, no. Oh, is that his dad? Ugh. Oh, God. Now his dad's blowing up his phone. Son of a bitch. Let's just murder this man. Change your number. The way I'm changing my number, bro. I don't want to talk to Shyamalan. I don't want to talk to my father. Fuck him. Like, why are we doing this narration, you guys? Like, we can see that he's angry because all he did was send him his latest payment. We know that. We don't need a narrator to tell us that he's angry. This actor is doing fine. Good lord. I trust your fucking actors. I hate it so much. It just betrays like a lack of confidence in your own performers. That's all it does. All right, we're at the hospital.
花先生，
Oh, we're at the
您的
hospital.
性激素腺体损伤严重，需要静卧。盛总很快就能醒，您别担心，赶快回去休息吧。
回去？
Yeah.
我哪儿都不去，你给我在盛先生旁边加张床就行。
Oh, he's waking up now.
盛先生，你醒了。
He's just covered in blood.
申少卿呢？
He the
已
one
经
that
送去
did
警察
this.
局了。贵国的警察局响应效率惊人，很少卿弄的吗？
He stabbed him in the fucking gland.
不过我没事，倒是盛先生，还不知道盛
少说两句。
He's pissed about God too.
花勇住不住院，和谁一起出院，和你有关系吗？
Oh, buddy. Here we go.
你是以前挨的揍还没挨够，上赶着来我病房挨揍，好蹭个就地抢救是不是？
要不是你身边杵着这个小疯子，你以为你能从我这儿讨得到话？难道我高兴？
盛先生，文郎最近家里出了点事，他心情不是很好，你不要跟他一般见识。
出事？我家能出什么事？
Sir,
高秘书离
be
职，
serious.
难道不算你家后院奢华？
Right? Like, be serious, sir. I'm so... Like, Hua Young is so over it. He's over it as much as I'm over it. Like, Jesus. He was like, sir, get it together. Like, just because your romance isn't working out, don't mean you get to come in here and fuck with mine.
也是，他心情不是很好，你不要跟他一般见识，毒性都不强。
Nope. Oh, caught up with him.
你还好吗？阿勇，老板，阿勇，医生，医生
Caught up with him. Fuck. I mean, he's been bleeding out for like an hour.
需要马上抢救，紧急输血。他是什么血型？
跟我一样是 S 级的药法，应该是 A 型血。
好，我马上通知血库，准备输血。
等等，医生，我老板不
Right?
是 A 型血，那个嘛，E 型血。
小琴恢复的不错，过几天就能出
See,
院了。
like, listen, bro. He definitely told you that he was an enigma. Now, I don't want to put it all on Sheng Xiaoyou because, to be fair, Hua Young at this point, for him at least, is kind of the boy who cried wolf. He's lied so much that it's hard for Sheng Xiaoyou to believe him fully 100% sometimes. So when he comes and says, basically, I'm this mythical creature that I don't believe in, you know, like that Sheng Xiaoyou doesn't believe in, it's hard for him to accept that. But at the same time, he's still kind of a flat earther. Flat earther Sheng Xiaoyou like won't believe this man when he tells him straight up the truth. Anyway, that was quite the sequence. Anyway, let's keep going.
老板是那个嘛，E 型血。
Yeah, it's time to cut him
我也
off.
是，病了
No,
这么久
baby.
都不好，害得你一直又
You've
当爹
been
又当
in
妈的
his
照顾我。
charge. Yeah, I was saying that he's basically her parent, not just her big brother, but literally he has been taking care of her their entire lives. He raised her. You were in his care, and it's obvious that he loves you, and you're like the most important thing in his life, you know? The most important person in his life, truly.
金手术费
You're not a
要是没有我
burden.
就好。
别胡说，
Yeah, that had
放心。
happened.
我再也不会给爸爸。
医
Oh
生跟我
God,
说，
is he gonna tell her that it's Shyamalan's baby?
失血
too?
过多，还在昏迷中。不过好在生命指征已经稳定下来了。
Oh, that's a good question. Transfusion. is there, like, enigmas are so rare. There's like less than 12 or something like that in the whole world. Where would they get enigma blood? And also, how does it work for other kind of transfusion? Like, if your secondary gender is determined by your blood type, does that mean that you can't get blood transfusions across blood types anymore? Like, we all know that the AB blood type was completely wiped out, or possibly transformed into E blood type, enigma blood type. Possibly. That's also, possibility. That they got wiped out, but then there's a few that mutated and became what is now known as E blood type for enigmas. That's my theory, personally. But anyway, that doesn't matter. That could be true or not be true. But the blood types that are left are what? O, B, and A, right? We know that O negative is the universal donor. Can omegas who have O negative blood type be the universal donor even to alphas or betas? Or are we now locked into we can only have blood transfusion with somebody else who's the same secondary gender as me? Like, I can't. I'm just like AB. Was it AB positive is the universal receiver? I think so. AB is gone, so there's no more universal receiver. Unless that's an enigma, and then is an enigma the universal receiver of blood types? Like, they can receive blood types from any of them. Anyway, that's a theory. That's just a theory that I've had for a little while. But anyway, let's get back to O blood type, B blood type, A blood type. O negative is the universal donor. Can they donate to alphas and betas to anyone? To enigmas? Can an enigma get an O negative blood type donation? Or because it's a mutated new blood type, it doesn't work? Or are we locked in to I can only receive and give blood to somebody who's the same as me? Also, that's also another question. Do people even have negative and positive blood types anymore? Or is it just O? Is it possible that the negative and positive blood types is actually what helps to determine your tier as like are all S tiers, A positive? And B, A, like A and S tier are all like A positive blood type, and then B, C class are A negative or something. Is it something like that? Or like, how does that work? Deciding to link the secondary gender development to your blood type is both a blessing and a curse. It's interesting. It's an interesting way to explain the ABO world, the Omegaverse, but it doesn't quite work that way because what? I think I would have, I thought, earlier in the series, I had thought that it was just that the virus targeted certain blood types specifically, but people had secondary genders grow later regardless of your blood type, right? But the Xing Xiaoyou earlier just said, oh, he's an S-class alpha, so he's probably A. Does that mean that there are S-class alphas? Am I being too rigid? Are there actual S-class alphas who are not A blood type that are like, I don't know, B or O? It presents I don't know. I know that they didn't think that far ahead or that deeply about this, but I am. This is how I do. I think about lore and I think about world building, and I think about is that realistic? How does it work? If this is the way it is, then how does it work here? I think about that because I like world building and I like story. When I write stories, I think about world building, and I think about like all kinds of extensions of what implications there are. If I decide this kind of magical system then what are the implications socially? What are the implications politically? How does it change from this country to this country to this country? How does it interact with this part of the lore? You know, I think about that kind of stuff because that's how world building is. How does it affect language? I don't know. Do people no longer say this? You know, stuff like that. Which is why earlier I was like, okay, well, if we have literally, technically all kinds of combinations of gender, then how does sexual orientation even work? Like, that's that's something to think about. But anyway, same here. It's like, okay, if we go off of everybody who's an alpha has a blood type, then what does that mean for blood transfusion? And what does that mean for negative and positive blood type? And how does that work? Also, if all alphas always have a blood type, then shouldn't you immediately know? Can't you just do a blood test and immediately know whether or not your kid is going to be an alpha or an omega or a beta? Because they would have an A blood type or B blood type or an O blood type. That can't be possible because we had the presentation thing. Like, people differentiate. Like, if that was the truth, then Gao Ming would immediately know that Gao Tu was going to be an omega because his blood type would have been O. So it can't be that rigid, right? Maybe it's this. Maybe betas can have any blood type. Like, they can be O, they can be B, they can be A. But if you are an alpha, you always have a blood type. Like, does that make sense? So everybody is a beta up until they differentiate. And then anybody who differentiates, if they have O, they become... Yeah, but then you would still have... I don't know. You would probably still have an idea that maybe they would be exactly what, you know, who they would be. You know, what they would be. You would have an inkling. Let's assume that all betas can be anything. They don't have to be B blood type. They could be O blood type, A blood type, B blood type. And it's not until they hit like what, 10, 11, 12, something like that, that they differentiate. And then when they become, if they differentiate and they were O blood type, then they go from being what possibly could have been a beta to an omega. And same for alpha. But people who don't differentiate still have O blood type or A blood type, but just are still betas. Maybe? I don't know. Logically, that doesn't make any sense. But that's the only possible way that you can have it follow blood type for your secondary gender, but still have that mystery of you don't know if your kid is going to differentiate. It has to be that betas can be anything. They can be A blood type, B blood type, O blood type. But then it begs the question, what about Huang? Is his blood type actually A? Does he have a rare unknown blood type? They can't possibly, like, that also pokes a hole in my theory that he's AB, because they would know what AB blood type is. But if he has a blood type that's not any of those, then they would be like, he would be a medical miracle. Wouldn't he? You know what? I've never done too deep of research into blood types. Are there blood types outside of the usual, like in real life? Are there blood types outside of the usual A, B, O, and AB? And then obviously positive and negative. I'd have to look it up. There might be some rare genetic blood types that fall outside of those structures. But I haven't looked it up, so, you know, I can't say 100%. I know animals have some animals have the A, B, O, A, B, you know, typing, but some animals have completely different blood type names and things like that. Because they're animals, they're different species. But, yeah, I'm not sure about humans. Anyway, I feel like I just spent like 15 minutes thinking about this. Sorry, you guys. This is going to be such a messy reaction. Let's actually just watch it.
盛少游呢？
But I'm so sorry. That's where my mind goes. My mind starts thinking about
在老板病
lore
床前陪着
and
呢。
what does it mean
我就
world
说吧。
building wise.
这小疯子仗着自己
How does
厉
this
害，
world works? What are the
毫无敬畏心。
mechanics and the rules?
一
And
天
then
到
how
晚
are
瞎
we
折腾，
breaking those rules?
迟早把自己折腾死。
文郎，老板还没醒呢，少说2句吧。
Right? Like, shut
我
up.
说错了吗？不能因为自己体质好的像怪胎，
Fair. I
顶
mean,
着
that's
这么
fair.
乖的一张脸，个性却又冷又硬。为了达成目
Now
的，
you thinking he's adorable?
Don't let
Wait. You know I'm a multi shipper. If y'all didn't know, I'm a multi shipper, which means that I can ship anybody with anything as long as I'm feeling the vibe. And I do kind of feel the vibe between Huang and Shimalai. I think they would be like a funny, like they'd be a funny, odd couple kind of couple where it's like in the comedy version of Desire the series, they would be together in like this kind of buddy cop way. Odd couple, I love Lucy kind of relationship. I could see that happening. They'd be hilarious together. Anyway,
哪一件事不叫人提心吊胆？
let's keep going.
顶着这么乖的一张脸，个性却又冷。
Like, I know in this series, they're
你不能
more
要求
like
活在那样
friends,
环境里
brothers,
的
that
人
kind of
正常。
thing. But
这对老板不
in
公平。
another universe, they would be hilarious together.
是，我觉得啊，还是少游内心实在是太要强了，要不然他怎么会羡慕那些遇到委屈能哭的人呢？
It's like, oh shit, I can't fucking cry. He's trying. He's trying.
什么事？
有法律规定表哥没事不可以来找表弟吗？
Yeah, just want to hang out. He clearly wants to
怎
hang
么
out
突
with you all the
然照
time.
起镜子了？怎么突然那么爱美？是不是你泪腺坏了呀？
It's probably trauma. I'm gonna be honest. I think it's a trauma response from his childhood. Ooh, these cookies.
已经出来了，您的眼睛非常健康。
I'm trying to figure out how to cry. Oh, I heard that he actually drew all this stuff, or at least most of it, or touched it up, or whatever. Because he's like an artist. He's like
那
actually
为什么我还是哭不出来？
like an artist
您坚强
who
果
went to
敢，
art school.
锐意进取，非常让人敬佩。或许您可以看看心理医生。
Please find a therapist.
你的意思是，我心理不健康？
Well, that too.
我不是那
but
个意思。
yeah, I meant it.
坚强固然是难得的特质，但脆弱也是人之常情，以眼泪来缓解。
It's a release.
不可逾越的痛苦。
Both not just physical,
Oh, yeah.
but emotional and mental as well.
别乱动，
Oof. Stabbed the shit out of him.
受
By
了
the
这么
way.
严重的伤，出了这么多血，医生，
I was like, where the hell are they?
盛先生，你别走，我没事。
你看看你的脸色，哪里像是没事的样子？
He's so worried.
行了，医生说你是超小众血型，全世界血库都找不到匹配的类型，你不能再流血了。
Yeah.
盛先生，
You're probably just gonna have to fill him with
你是不是生气
liquids
了？
and hope that
但我
his
真的
body
没有
can
骗你
recover.
我早就跟你说过，我不是 Alpha。
Yeah, we learned that in the first episode that he does not believe in that. That shit is a ghost story to him.
花友，真的，躺好别动。
Yeah, we know. It's okay. He's so clingy because he's a bit insecure, right? Like he doesn't. I mentioned this earlier in the series that doing all of this, he's got to have like such crazy anxiety or insecurity at the idea that Shen Xiaoyou actually loves him. And it's very much still there. Like he just doesn't have, which is why he holds on so tight and he wants to control him and control every aspect of Shen Xiaoyou's life, is because he's so insecure about the idea of being loved. That he doesn't, just as much as Shen Xiaoyou doesn't believe in enigmas, Huang doesn't quite believe that anybody could love him. And I think that's part of the reason that he's so like, ooh, don't leave me. You know, he's really, you know, desperate to hold him close, and he clings even tighter to him, you know. He's very afraid.
盛先生，我喜欢你，希望你开心。
你希望我难过吗？
Yeah, you gotta couch it in words like that.
好，那你先躺好，我去。
Oh, he's
不是
breathing
让你
again.
躺好，别乱动吗？
Sir?
花勇，
It's the same for him.
我也会痛。
Yeah. Just let's. We gotta kind of couch it in words like that for him. Oh man, he is very much. Nope, now him being super elated because now he's starting to
盛先生，你放心吧，
understand
我没事的。
his feelings.
我帮花先生重新包扎了一下，您看您现在方便吗？我让同事带您去趟检验科。
异常？什么东西有异常？
为了安全起见，我们给盛总抽的是全血，测了所有能测的项目，结果显示盛总的孕酮有12.6，这是怀孕时期才会有的数值。
怀孕，贵院的医疗水平真是堪忧。我是 S 级 alpha， 怎么可能怀孕？
You are with child, sir. He's like, holy shit. Time to do an ultrasound. Can we do an ultrasound? Is it far enough
微
along
信
that you
不
could
符
like see the
电话
baby?
关机。高图到底在干什么？
我没事。
你还好吗？
No, you were very clearly about to throw up, sir.
深草，烟总在这儿。
I wasn't expecting them to
Huang,
see each other. I thought he was gonna avoid him forever.
我来看看。
But no, he's not better. Oh man, oh man.
你确定没事吗？
And he's not on suppressants right
那
now
为什么不回我消息？
because you're being mean in them.
可能是没注意。
没注意。
沈总，
He knows he's lying. Interesting.
我最近要照顾家里人，很忙，比较少看手机。
家里人，那个未婚先孕的 Omega， 你吐成这样，
Oh Jesus.
不知道的还以
Who
为怀
got
孕的是你。
pregnant out of wedlock?
我没有。
Jesus. Oh, that was suspicious.
请你不要看这种。
That was so suspicious. He had to have noticed how suspicious that was. But he also doesn't just, it doesn't compute to him that Gao Tu would lie to him about something important like that. Like, because he trusts Gao Tu completely 100%, you know? And he has since they were in school together. Anyway, I truly wasn't expecting it. I thought he was going to be just ghosting him the whole time. But I was also like, yeah, just go see his sister. You know where his sister is. You know where he lives. Just go see him. And he did. You know, fair enough. I just wish that this was all happening like 3 episodes ago. Does that make sense? Like, I really wish that this was all happening earlier so that we could just see their relationship progress more. But, like, putting it all in episode 15 and 16, I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. But it's fine. It's fine. Let's keep going.
请替我转达。
He also won't
你很缺
communicate.
钱吗？
Gao Tu also won't communicate.
没有。
什么没有？
He could also relent. Gao Tu could also relent here, but he's not going to. They're both too fucking
我没什么需要
stubborn.
帮忙的。我每天都吃很多。谢谢沈总的关心。我还
Like,
有
their
事
whole relationship is built on lies, too, so. And this is where we are. This is the result.
这已经是第3次检测了，
Yeah, you're definitely
不
pregnant,
同数
babe.
值啊，还是和之前的一样。
所以已经确定了，盛先生怀孕了。
啊，对。 我们组织了多学科会诊，现在基本可以判定是妊娠。但是根据目前现有的资料来看，还没有关于 Enigma 和 Alpha 结合的妊娠记载。所以呢，我们大多专家还是持。
Does that sorry, brother? Does that imply that there are other known Enigma pairings with alphas? Like, we know that Enigmas are rare. I had always wondered if Huang was like the first of his kind. He was the first real proof that Enigmas were real. Sorry to use real twice in a sentence like that. Oof. But like it was theorized that there were other Enigmas out there. But now I'm like, okay, well maybe they know for a fact that there's like, 10 Enigmas in the world, and they know most of them, perhaps. So are we saying that the other Enigmas, do Enigmas always pair with alphas in this world? I know that in the Omegaverse at large, Enigmas can pair with anyone. But I mean, for the Desire universe, do they always pair with alphas? Or maybe he just meant that there's been 3 Enigmas who've paired with alphas and none of them have gotten pregnant, like they've gotten pregnant. Maybe these other Enigma alpha pairings aren't as compatible as these two. Maybe it's a case of, it's not just that he's an Enigma with an alpha, but that the fact that they are over 90% compatible.
据目前现有的资料来看，还没有关于 Enigma
or maybe the others just weren't trying to have kids like them.
所以呢，我们大多专家
maybe the others were just, wrapping up whenever they had sex.
是这样。圣总血液里的药物残留指标虽然远远低于致畸量，但是我们还是考虑不明药物摄入史，所以我个人建议呢，你们还是。
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a good point. He's pregnant, but he has been through so much shit in the last, 2-3 months? Where he's been poisoned. He had, his whole bond happened because he was poisoned with, cyanide? And then he went through that extreme situation there, and then he got poisoned again. He's pregnant. And then he got poisoned again by his brother, drugged. He's probably going to have a very difficult pregnancy at the start because of this. Yeah, interesting. Interesting to think about. That his body might have, adverse effects to the previous multiple poisonings. That it might be putting the baby at risk.
所以我个人建议呢，你们还是慎重决定。
决定什么？孩子的名字吗？
He said, "No, we having this
我们
baby."
会好好决定的。
作为医生，我不建议你们留着他。
Are you playing with your life, sir? He's going to murder you. Is this the same doctor as last time who said you should have sex with omegas?
我知道，这个你们很难接受。
For your own sake, I know as a doctor he has to say this because medically speaking and for health reasons he has to present that option as, hey, this might be a high-risk pregnancy, so I do recommend termination. As a professional, he has to say this. But as a human being in front of an enigma, are you insane?
但是我们得考虑不明药物摄入史啊，是吧？
收紧你不必要的建议好吗？别给我找麻烦。Enigma 的孩子没那么脆弱，管好你的嘴，我会很感谢。
回去再找你算账。
Not the pout. I kind of love them.
解释。
解释什么？
怀孕和永久标记到底是怎么回事
？He told you outright, sir.
绑匪给你注射了氰化物，如果不永久标记你，你会死的，盛先生。我说过要做错事。
You the one that said bareback me. I'm so sorry. Let's replay the clip, sir. I need an instant replay on all these conversations because he definitely was very upfront with you in the last like month or two of your relationship. You're the one who didn't believe. Now, like I said, it's not 100% his fault because Huang is a little bit the boy who cried wolf. He's lied so much that it's completely understandable that Sheng Xiaoyou is having a difficult time believing his truths because of all the lies. But at the same time, he definitely said, I'm never going to lie to you again. And then he told you flat out the truth. And you believe some of them, but not all of them. You only believe the stuff that you wanted to believe that didn't challenge your worldview. The moment he started saying truths that challenged your worldview, Xing Xiaoyou, you decided that you didn't believe that part, you know? Anyway, let's keep
那
going.
怀孕是怎么回事？
我说过要做错事，是盛先生不肯啊。
You definitely
当然
did do that.
这主要还是怪我，怪我抵抗不住诱惑。可是面对盛宝，
It's him kind of loving it for me.
你应该被卖去动
Despite
物或
his
展览。
best effort, he loves it.
那盛先生会来看我表演吗？
演什么？变态啊！
美人鱼啊，
嗯
我很擅长游泳哎。我以前读过一个童话，里面说，人鱼需要性爱人类的体液才能幻化出双腿。
All right.
你看的那本书，是怎么活到出版那一天的？
没有出版，那是我自己写的，一共10个小故事，主角都是盛先生。
This man wrote AU fantasy fanfic RPF of him and he said, "Ooh, I'm a mermaid and I need the bodily fluid of my man." Like he cast himself as the mermaid. Yeah, he's good at swim. He cast himself as a mermaid in his fanfic that needs the seed of his lover in order to transform to have legs. Which I guess, okay, let's think about that metaphorically right now. Let's think about that. Because mermaids are an otherworldly creature, and it's traditionally, well, I guess it depends on what kind of mermaid story you're talking about, because there are a lot of them out there that are really like, oof. Because sometimes, but let's say in the Disney version, traditionally mermaids would need like, you know, finding love as the incentive for transformation, right? To become human. So obviously for Huang, he's interpreting that as I need Sheng Xiaoyou in order to be human, because he considers himself to be other or otherworldly or separate outside of the human spectrum. And it's through his obsession, his focus on Sheng Xiaoyou, that he is transforming into a human. But of course, if we go with some of the darker versions of the mermaid story, there's a lot of, well, it's interesting because he cast himself as the mermaid, but in a lot of the other stories, the mer creature or the transform, like it's kind of like the Swan Princess story, where it's usually some mythological, you know, lovely creature just like bathing or something in some grove, and then some human man comes along and assaults them and forces them to transform and enslaves them. But it's interesting to think about it as the other way around, because technically that is what happened between these two, is that Huang was the aggressor who forced Sheng Xiaoyou on a variety of levels and literally transformed him into a perfect mate. Literally used his pheromones to transform his body into the perfect receptacle for him. There's certainly a conversation to be had about that's what we are getting with this series. But it's interesting that in his fanfic, he casts himself as the mermaid, who usually is the victim in these stories, the one who is victimized by a human man who came and imposed their will on this creature and stripped them of their identity and who they were. I don't know. There's something interesting about that. If we go with the non-Disney version of mermaids and we go with like the folklore version of mermaids, of swan princesses, etc., that's how they go. They have a lot of stories of they're usually stories of violence, assault, things like that, and usually patriarchal violence and things like that. So it's interesting that he wrote this fanfic of him in the victimizer role, or victim role instead of the victimizer role, even though that's technically what he's been doing with Sheng Xiaoyou. Interesting. Even what he's saying here, mermaids need the bodily fluids of their beloved to transform into legs, to have legs. That's literally what he did to Sheng Xiaoyou, is that he used his pheromones, his bodily fluids, etc., to force this man to grow a womb, a uterus, or reproductive tract, whatever, and have a baby. Like, by just being in his presence, by dosing him with pheromones for over a year and then like actually mating him, etc., etc. Like, he made this man grow a whole other bodily organ. Interesting. That's an interesting. I really like that that decision to use the story of the mermaid here, because it's very much an allusion to them, but in both directions, right? Because we have, like I said, in one version of mermaids, it's about this human imposing their, assaulting this mermaid in order to transform them and enslave them and entrap them, usually in marriage in some kind of way. But then on the other side, other kind of mermaid stories are about this inhuman creature learning to become human through the power of love. So it's like they both are the mermaid and they both are the sailor, luring each other back and forth in different versions of the story. I don't know. That's super interesting.
你看的那本书是怎么活到出版那一天的？
没有出版，那是我自己写的，一共10个小故事，主角都是。
Wonder what the other short stories are. We had the mermaid one.
变态。
What about the others? There's a vampire one, of course. You know there's going to be a vampire one. Let's go back and see that. I was
你
looking
到
at
底是什么品种的变态？
能让盛先生怀孕的那种。
Ooh, I put a
我怎么
baby
可
in
能
you.
真的相信你能让我？
盛先生，
Honey.
我早就跟你说过的啊，你记得吗？我还说过，我们的第一个小孩要叫小花生。我不
Well,
想
let's
未
get
婚生
married.
子，我每天都在计划着怎么跟盛先生求婚呢。
It's him loving it. Every time he says some
别总
crazy
说离谱
shit,
的
he
话。
smiles. Hilarious.
老实交代，除了进化功能和愈合能力增强之外，永久标记还会对我造成哪些影响？
Yeah, let's get the actual lowdown.
几乎都是好的影响。
几乎。
唯一算得上坏处的，应该就是盛先生。
Oh, that's a good question, because I've been wondering all this time, like, is he just going to have both ruts and heats now? That's crazy. Like, oof, that would have been terrible if he went through both ruts and heats. Like, he would never have a moment where he wasn't having his period. Because they're basically like periods and ovulation periods, like menstrual periods and ovulation periods, right? Like, that's what ruts and heats are, kind of, essentially, in humans, let's say. I was kind of afraid for him that he was going to have like never a moment where he wasn't having some kind of heat or rut. Like, every month was going to be both or some shit like that. That would have been fucking horrible. So it's that his ruts will transform into heat. So he won't have ruts anymore. He'll just have heats or like some kind of combination of them where both things are happening simultaneously,
都
maybe?
是好的影响。
Okay, interesting.
几乎。
唯一算得上坏处的，
So he gets a healing
应
boost,
该
a
就是
strength
盛先生的
boost,
易感气
but
会变
his
成发
ruts
热
become
气，并
heats.
且跟我同步。
And
除
they'll
此之
sync with
外
him.
都是
Okay.
好的影响。我的体力、智力、痊愈力都远超普通人类，这些都
Okay,
会
yeah.
通过永久标记传承给另一半。盛先生，
You're probably the most powerful alpha in the
你将
world
拥
right
有
now.
30%的能力和100%的爱。
代价呢？不谈义务，谈权利。花谢是哄小孩呢。
除了爱我，你没有别的义务，能做到吗，盛先生？
花先生先斩后奏的行为作风，很
He
难让人爱得起
does
来。
indeed do stuff and then
盛先生
ask
你
for
喜欢什么
forgiveness.
样的？
He's that person that's like better to ask forgiveness than permission. That saying, you know that saying? That's Huang personified.
能做到吗，盛先生？
花
哥，你快去休息。
Oh,
我自己
she's
来就行
home.
那怎么行？虽然出院了，但毕竟刚刚动了那么大的手术。
你快坐着，我
Yeah,
没
you're
问
having a
题。
baby. She'll be okay.
对了，哥，我们真的要回仪式吗？那边的医疗条件比这儿差很多吧？会不会影响宝宝安全啊？
Is it like a
没办法。
small town or something?
江户的房租太贵了，不搬走的话，
Yeah, he can
我
find
还是
you.
会担心会有麻烦。
Yeah. I was thinking that.
你
Does
做
he
得
know
对
where you live?
我早就说过，你不能
Not-
再和他联系。
Yeah, we just gotta
光明
get
就
out
是
of
个无底
here.
洞，你给的越多，他就堵得越大，欠的也越多。是，随时能去大医院比较好啊。
Yeah, I mean, you don't have to stay in Jianghu, this area, which thanks for explaining the difference between Jianghu and Jianghu. You know, that it's different characters. Like, how I understand it, Jianghu, like in the, you know, Wuxia and Xianxia and stuff like that, uses different characters. Whereas this is like, not an anagram, whatever. Where a portmanteau, whatever, where they put two letters together from two different words to explain the area, and they call it Jianghu as well. But it's different characters. So thanks for cluing me
如
in
果
on
你要
that.
是担心房租的话，我们可以换一个小一点的房子，远一点。你现在不是一个人了。
Yeah,
你
can
不
we
能
not
只
go
替
to
我考虑，
another
你也得
city
替宝
that's
宝
not
想一想。
Jianghu, but is not a
哦，
small
对了
town?，
核磁信息素
Also,
哦
maybe
我们
put
就留在
everything
江
in
户
her
吧。
name.
大城市医疗资源好，机会也多。等我毕了业赚了钱，我可以跟你一想家，好不好？
Okay, if I'm being practical, I would say still move to another city, but it doesn't have to be a small town. Actually, it's probably easier to find somebody in a small town than it is in a big city. There's no way in the world that this is the only big city in this entire country. They're technically in China, right? Like, just go somewhere else in China. That's still a huge city, you know, that has a huge population that you can get lost in. And then in that city, probably put everything under her name, you know? So, like, she's the one that signs the lease and that buys the car, et cetera, et cetera. And you would only use your name when it comes to actually going to the hospital or when it comes to getting a job. But everything else would be in her name, that kind of thing. And it's not like Huang and Sheng Xiaoyou, who are a medical miracle right now, right? Ooh. Sorry, am I about to lose power? It's not raining. It's not raining. Oh, hope I don't lose power. But anyway. So it's not like Shen Xiaoyou and Huang, who are like medical miracles. Like, you're just an Omega who's pregnant. Like, there are millions of Omegas, presumably, who are pregnant, who have gotten pregnant. You know, like, it's not like you, like, it'd be difficult for Shen Xiaoyou to go to a hospital because he's a pregnant alpha. And that's like, that would, the news of that would get around really fast. Huang, the same thing. He's an enigma. But you're just like a regular ass, you know, Omega. You could get lost in a big city. So still move so that you can go to a place that has good facilities because you need it medically because of your pheromone disorder and your pregnancy, your high-risk pregnancy. But don't stay here because your father will probably be able to find you here. Anyway, I feel like I rambled a lot this episode. But I'm just yapping, you guys. Yeah, an hour and 21 minutes filming right now. Actually, longer. That's just how the recording has gone. Oh, not dreaming of him. Oh yeah, because he used to come by his apartment all the time.
茶泡好了，
And clean
是给
and
您
shit
端
like
过
that
去，
for
还
him.
是？
Honey, it's not gonna be different the more you call it. Sir? Panic starting to set in. He's gonna go to the hospital and find out that she was discharged. And then he's gonna go by the apartment and find out that they've moved. Oh, is he gonna call Huang and be like, Gaotu's missing, help me? Yeah. I can't find him. We need to move heaven and earth.
喂，
怎么了？
高图的手机号码变空号了。
所以呢？
Oh, he is
他的手
panicking.
机号码怎么会变空号？
不用的号码就会变成空号，
Changed,
这是
yeah.
常识。
He changed his
那我以后
number.
怎么联系他？
你都答应他辞职了，你还联系他干嘛？
有哪条法律规定他离职了我就不能联系他了？
Oh, honey.
花友，高图搬家了，但他没回老家。
那种很有规划的人。
他应该只是不想和过去的人和事再
He
有
doesn't
重
want
合
to。be a friend.
那怎么可以？
Found. Yeah.
怎么不行？
Yeah, think it through. Come on. Come on.
你是不是
Like,
也想
right? Like, Huang has been doing his best, you guys. He has been doing his best to wingman his best friend. And this man is not picking up what he is putting down. Like, just say it. And he's actually said this before. He's like, do you have a crush on this man? And he kept denying it. So you know what? I can't even be like, just say it outright. Because he has said it outright before. All right.
那怎么可以？
He's like, let me coach you through this, Jesus.
问了？
He's in love with
还有谁喜欢高图？
you.
没谁。我最讨厌和蠢货聊天了。
I know. You know what? Valid.
花友，你别忘了是谁帮你演习着的盛少游。
那Omega是谁吗？
高图说酒店的监控坏了。
没拍到正脸。这和我找高图
She's
有什
gonna
么
have
关
to
系？
tell him. You know, I respect Huang for trying really hard not to out this man. You know, like he said, Gaotu, here's the picture, do what you want with it. You know, but like you like him, right? So just be honest. You know, I respect that he like tried really hard to just let them figure it out with each other. But it's clear that they are not going to move forward. So it's still not necessarily a good thing, but also Huang is a little bit sociopathic. So I don't think he's going to feel that bad about outing this Omega as an Omega. I'm just saying.
你知道那晚的 Omega
He's a
是谁
little
吗
bit. He's got a
高图说
touch
酒店的监
of
控
it.
坏了。
没拍到正脸。这和我找高图
Probably
有什么
trauma,
关系啊？
you know, in origin. Trauma
你的意
induced.
思
but
是说，高图和那晚的欧米伽是一伙的？
他们一起算
Good
计我。
Lord.
高图就是那晚的 Omega。
Was the Omega.
说什么？
我已经把照片发给了高秘书，
让他自己决定。
你要好好把握，不然有可能孤独终老哦。
不跟你说了。
It's like, honey,
我还要
he
继
is
续给
an
圣先生
Omega.
做工
Good luck, right? Good luck. Yeah, think through every interaction you've ever had with this man. Now, it's not his fault for being lied to and gaslit, to be fair. Gaotu, these last decade, has been lying to and gaslighting this man. It's not really his fault, truly. Because he trusts him, and Gaotu low-key kind of betrayed his trust. Like I've mentioned before, that Gaotu and Huang are narrative foils. They're character foils for each other. So they do things in a similar way. It's just that Huang has power and money, and Gaotu doesn't. And that's honestly, that's the main difference between the two of them. It's the difference in power and privilege and etc. It's why they are actually kind of the same person, just in different fonts, essentially. And Gaotu definitely was lying to and gaslighting Sherman Line for like 10 years. So it's not Shyamalan's fault 100% that he is in the dark here. But at the same time, he's not necessarily a great liar. So there's a part of me that's like, Shyamalan, you probably could have seen through this if you could unclench a little bit. And, go see a therapist for your omega trauma. You probably would have figured it out earlier. If you had tried to be a decent adult who could handle your own shit, you probably would have figured it out eventually long before this. But, here we are. Huang had to come in clutch yet again.
高图有什么关系啊？
Oh yeah, he just.
是这样的，高图先生患有严重的信息素紊乱症，并且一直在看医生，但他已经连续2周没有到医院。
They had his father's number on file, so now they've accidentally outed him to his father. Oh God, that's so bad. That's bad.
考虑到他的安全，医生报了警。
不是，你在说什么鬼话呢？
高图先生的情况十分危急，作为信息素紊乱的欧米伽，他不应该擅自怀孕。我们现在联系不上他。
God, and his
如果能联
pregnancy.
系到他，请务必监督他及时就医。
They don't have. See, this is some world building lore to talk about. They don't have a way to protect. The Omega Protection Act just calls whomever when there's an issue with an Omega. Like, you don't have anything in place for when that Omega is in an abusive home or abusive relationship on what to do, on who to not call. Like, you don't have any, like, hey, this is a no contact list and this is a next of kin contact list. And we don't have a way to tell. Well, I guess it depends, right? It depends on if Gaotu would put that in. Like, let's say he puts that in his medical records or his personal records. That he's an Omega, this is his mother, this is his father, this is his sister. This is his next of kin, probably Shyamalan's in there somewhere. But I guess if he doesn't explicitly say my father is a non-contact in his like paperwork, then they wouldn't know. I guess it depends on if they even have that kind of structure. Like, maybe they don't have any kind of, they're an Omega Protection Act, but doesn't have any way to protect Omegas from their own abusive families. That's a discussion to have sociologically. Like, we have this useless ass Omega Protection Act. It's like a useless ass restraining order where it doesn't really, do anything. It's just a piece of paper. And a lot of times stalkers or abusers will, like they say in the song, walk right through that restraining order and put you in intensive care. I love the chicks so much. Anyway, so maybe it's a scenario like that where on paper the Protection Act does this, and this, gives you this and this, these rights and these protections, but the reality is that they're kind of useless in the face of actual abusers, and people who game the system. Interesting. So now Gaotu has been found out by Shyamalan that he's an Omega. And now he's been found out by his father that he's not only an Omega, but is pregnant right now and has a pheromone disorder. That's bad. Oh my God. Yeah, I definitely wish that all of this part of the story was happening like 2 episodes ago for them. So that we could have more time to unpack that.
您吩咐的大屏都已经准备好了。
Yep. Where are we? Is this his house? It must be at the hotel. X Holdings Hotel. Not the fireworks. Hold up. Oh, buddy. Embarrassing. embarrassing. I would hate this. Me personally, I would hate this because that's absolutely not something that I would enjoy. I don't like public proposals. I think they're a little, you know, all that. I would hate it. But I feel like Sheng Xiaoyou would love this, the theatrics of it. Because here, I'll talk about it after, because we're almost at the end of the episode. So I'll talk about it after. But I do want to take a moment to talk about Sheng Xiaoyou and Huang after this. Oh my god. This is so embarrassing. I can't stand him. Fireworks and everything. He really went all out. Oh god.
你们看新闻了没有啊？从来不接受广告投放的 X 吧？想不到这个 X 控股只手遮天的主人，竟是个为爱刀追的 Omega， 这也太刺激了吧
the immediate stereotyping and assumptions of gender and so interesting. So interesting. They assume his orientation. They assumed his sexual orientation. They assumed his the leader of X Holdings' gender. They probably assumed his gender before. They probably assumed that he was an alpha before. And now they're like, oh my god, he's an omega? Because he's proposing to an alpha. But that also immediately assumes things. Like, why couldn't he still be an alpha proposing to another alpha? Especially these ladies who were in here, who were the Omegaverse Fujoshis, who were talking about, hey, maybe they're in that alpha romance. Remember that? Remember that earlier in the series? Interesting. This is fascinating. Oh, well, then he did in the advertisement, he did say, I want to have your baby. So I guess that would make them assume that this was an omega. Okay, fair enough. I will take back what I just said. Because he did put that in the ad.
这个 Omega， 这也太刺激了吧！哇，好羡慕啊！但凡是个人都拒绝不了这种公开示爱吧。是啊，我读书那会儿和我的阿尔法吵架，他在布告栏公开给我道歉的时候，我感动的差点直接嫁给他。
公开道歉吗？
沈总。
Titties out and everything. Oh my god. Like I said, Sugar Lang's fashion has been the best in the series.
董事长的病情很稳定，请您来应该是为了 X Hotel 大屏求婚的事。
Oh, not the end of the episode. Oh god. I hate these cliffhangers. All right. Oh my god. Episode 15. This is a long ass fucking episode. I haven't even had the discussion yet, and it's already an hour and 37 minutes. I cannot imagine having to cut this down for you, YouTube, you guys. I'm so sorry. I was yapping this whole episode. Anyway, interesting. Okay, so we have Huang doing this proposal. Okay, a lot of stuff had to happen in this episode, which makes sense because they were like, listen, this is the final 2 episodes. We got to get this story moving. Okay, we found out Huang and Sheng Xiaoyou found out that they were pregnant and they're expecting, and Huang proposed very publicly. And now Sheng Xiaoyou has to go meet his father and actually talk about this and probably reveal that Huang is the leader of X Holdings. And possibly also reveal that he's an enigma and that he's pregnant. Like, woo, what a conversation to be having with your dad. Speaking of fathers, Gao Ming is back in the mix, and he's now is aware of Gao Tu being an Omega and being pregnant. Oh my god. So you know he's going to do some fucking fucked up shit. Because we know everything about that man's nature from the first flashback that we got in episode 1 with his wife, where he was beating up his wife and sold her. I theoretically, didn't he like force her to go work by selling her body, etc.? Do we think that the mom is still out there just having been trafficked? Or did she die? Did we get any confirmation on whether or not she's still alive? I mean, I know we're not going to get that in the last episode. We're not going to get her rescuing her or saving her if she is alive. We're not going to get that. But it's made me think about it. Like, oh my God. Like, could she just be out there just being a sex worker somewhere? Separated from her children? Or do we think that she's passed away? I can't remember if they ever confirmed that she had died. So I'll have to maybe look back at some previous episodes, see if I can figure it out. But either way, we already know that he's a piece of shit because of that experience that Gaotu witnessed with his mom. So whatever decision he's going to come out of this is going to be terrible. And it was an interesting, like, commentary on the way government systems, medical systems, sometimes on paper seem to offer protection, but in reality are useless at actually protecting citizens. And that oftentimes they even put people in more danger through their ineffectiveness, or sometimes just, because they don't think of scenarios that that marginalized people actually experience. Like the fact that this Omega Protection Act outed Gaotu to his abuser father, just simply because that's his father. Oof. But hopefully him and his sister, Gaotu and his sister, have already gotten away. They've already moved and, disappeared. But they wouldn't bring the father back in at this point if he wasn't going to be a problem next episode. So, oof. Speaking of, Shenwen Lan now knows. Like, Huang was like, listen, I can't do this anymore. This man is an Omega. He's always been an Omega. He's actually the Omega you slept with that night, sir. Do what you want with it. I need to focus on my relationship. Do what you need to do, sir. You're a grown man. I could respect that Huang was just over it. He's at the same point that we are. We, the audience, are kind of over it with Shenwen Lan. And it's like, dude, just nut up or shut up, So now Shenwen Lan knows, and his whole worldview is being shifted right now. He's probably going over every single moment that they've had together and recontextualizing it within the space of he's an Omega. Not only is he an Omega, but he's an Omega who lied to me about being an Omega because he didn't think that I was safe or think that I was worthy or whatever. And we could definitely have a conversation about that. Is this Shenwen Lan? Let's say Shenwen Lan changes his attitude about Omegas after this. I mean, thanks, but is that true change? That it's only when being Omegaphobic affected him directly that he decided to change. And I know that's actually very common for people, that a lot of times people don't care about other people unless it affects them directly. But at the same time, it does kind of betray a lack of internal evolution, emotional and mental evolution in a person and in a character, if the only thing that makes them think differently is when it affects them directly. Like, he didn't care about all his Omegaphobic shit bothering people, bothering Omegas that weren't Gaotu. But now that he knows Gaotu is an Omega, he's like suddenly like, oh shit, maybe I shouldn't have said all that Omegaphobic stuff. It's like, it's like not true change, not intrinsic change. But maybe it'll be the catalyst for him to actually look back on his behavior and go, man, I just need a moment where he apologizes to these other secretaries. The two Omega ladies that are his secretaries. I need him to, at some point in the next episode, apologize to them for being such a fucking unmitigated ass around the office with them. And making them feel like they weren't good enough because they were Omega, or that they were dirty or trash or whatever. Sly, whatever, lying creatures, yada, yada, yada. I need him to apologize to them. But I know I'm not going to get that. I know that the story is not concerned with Shenwen Lan's actual development as a character. They're just concerned with the story about him becoming, somebody who can date an Omega. Does that make sense? Like, they don't care about these other Omegas. They only care about Gaotu. I can tell. But for me, I need at least a moment where he apologizes to him. Hopefully, I'll be proven wrong and they'll give me something similar to that in the story. But I'm not going to hold out hope for it. So, but he has to like really think about his own biases and how he kind of made one of the reasons that Gaotu holds some responsibility for it, but so does Shenwen-Lan, because Shenwen-Lan did not create an environment or space for Gaotu to feel safe enough to tell him the truth about who he was. He didn't. Gaotu's story is very much a trans allegory in a lot of ways, where it's Gaotu is essentially, if you wanted to think about the allegory, Gaotu is basically what one would call a passing trans person. So somebody who is trans but passes enough that people who are not close to him or around him don't know that he's trans, right? And therefore he in order for people around him, other than probably his family, as we know, to know about his transness would be if he told them. But in order to do that, you have to have friends or coworkers who provide a safe space for that. And that's not what Shenwen-Lan gave him. Shenwen-Lan was spouting transphobic shit all the time around him. And therefore, it did not present an opportunity for a trans person to be honest about their transness around them. Like, that's just the reality, that Shenwen-Lan was constantly Omega-phobic from the moment that they met till now. And so he did not present a safe space for Gaotu to feel like he could tell him the truth. Like, yes, Gaotu definitely holds some responsibility for lying this amount of time and for, just not cutting the cord. Like, at a certain point, it's like, Gaotu, why are you around this guy who's Omega-phobic all the time? Like, tell him the truth and then cut him off and leave. But of course, he's never going to do that because he was in love with him, because they're 90% compatible, etc., etc. But like, Gaotu does have some intrinsic responsibility for his own actions and his own life. And he could have just, hey, I'm an Omega too. Fuck off. I quit. And then leave. But he didn't do that. So, they could never, they were so stagnant in a lot of ways until Huang put together this plan and then started doing crazy shit in their lives and kind of forced them both to reveal themselves in a lot of some circumstances were unintentional on Huang's part, and some of it was him just directly talking to both of them and saying, hey, this needs to change. You need to do this, or just, shit or get off the pot. Shit or get off the pot to both of them. But yeah, if we take that as an allegory for that, then, Shenwen-Lan had a responsibility for his own life to improve as a person, to become the kind of person who could be a safe haven for Gaotu, and he never did. And maybe it's too late for him. Maybe that's their story. Maybe their story is that they hesitated too long and now it's too late. And that's a story that can be told, and it's totally fine to write a story like that. To have a story where two people, you want them to be together, but ultimately they aren't because neither of them do what needs to be done. It's not necessarily a happy story or a positive one, but it is a story that holds value. It is a narrative that holds value, so I don't have a problem with it. I know a lot of people do because they're, shippers and stuff like that, and a lot of people struggle with the idea of having a romance story that doesn't end with the two partners in the romance together, even though that's a completely valid way to write a romance. Some romances are just about teaching these two characters what they don't want, and that has value in a story. And it has value in storytelling. Some romances are temporary and they aren't meant to be endgame. Maybe that's what's happening with Shenwen-Lan and Gaotu. Maybe they're just not meant to be endgame. But I feel like they are. Like, if I take a step out of my, that kind of literary analysis of like not all love stories have to end with them still in love. I think in this story they're gonna still end up together. It's just that we're gonna cram it all into this finale episode. So what do we have going into the finale for them? Sherman Lang now knows at least that Gao Tu is an Omega. Maybe he'll finally put 2 and 2 together that he is in fact the Omega who's pregnant. So he'll know that Gao Tu is pregnant with his baby. Because he now knows that Gao Tu was the Omega from the hotel that night, the only time he's ever had sex. So maybe he'll put 2 and 2 together. So we're going into the finale possibly with Sherman Lang knowing the full truth that Gao Tu is an Omega and is pregnant. But Gao Tu doesn't know that both Sherman Lang and his father now know that he's an Omega and is possibly pregnant. So he's going into it unaware. So that means that he could be caught in a trap or found out and be completely put on the back foot because of it. Which means it's very much expressed danger for him there. But maybe his sister just got out of the hospital and was recovered. So hard to say whether or not she's going to be up to being able to protect her brother. I know that she's an alpha. We don't know what rank she is, what class she is, or tier. But she is an alpha, so I'm curious to know whether or not she's recovered enough to be able to protect her brother, or if she's still a little bit too weak and too young to do that. Oof. I don't think Sherman Lan is going to hurt him, obviously not. But his father, definitely. His father would definitely hurt him. Oof. I guess we'll see. We'll see. All right, and then I did want to save some space to talk about Sheng Xiaoyu. Sheng Xiaoyu is interesting in that so in this episode, he finds out that Huang really is an enigma. He wasn't lying. And that he's now pregnant with Huang's baby. And so his whole worldview, I'd mentioned earlier in the episode that he believed the stuff that he wanted to believe and ignored the stuff that actually challenged his worldview, which I stand by that statement. And I think it's interesting when you think about Sheng Xiaoyu as somebody who was cultured to be one way, to think that alphas are one way and have to be like this and have to always be in control and are the pinnacle. S-tier alphas are the pinnacle of this world. They are the apex predator. To find out that there is actually a different apex predator, that enigmas are the apex predators. They are the top of the top and not S-class alphas. Because we had that whole conversation in the first episode, remember? Where they were in the bar that first time, where they were talking about the possibility of enigmas. And the fucking guy that I hate, the other friend, he was like, oh, he's used to being, the pinnacle of human evolution, yada, yada, yada. And that's why he doesn't believe in enigmas, And he wasn't wrong. That's exactly it. He doesn't believe in enigmas because if he believes in enigmas, then suddenly his whole identity is being challenged, right? That's what's been happening with him throughout the series, is that literally Huang's existence as an enigma challenges Sheng Xiaoyu's beliefs about his own actual identity as an alpha, as an S-tier alpha, right? If enigmas exist, then everything that I know to be true about my identity and myself is not true, is challenged, is immediately incorrect. And so he struggles with that throughout the whole series. It's why it was so easy for him to fall for Huang's Omega Act. Huang was putting on all the stereotypical Omega shit. And we've met Omegas in this series, right? We met the one Omega from high school, from Gao Tu, who was really, astringent. We know Shu Shin, who's really in, really, forward and bold. We've met Gao Tu, who's super stubborn and can actually hold his own in an argument and in the office. We met even the two gossipy Omega ladies who were, just living their lives, doing their thing as secretaries, but still, we've met Omegas throughout. We met Huang's cousin, who is a gangster, is like the head of a mafia, right? Isn't he the head of a mafia? And he's an Omega. So these are actual Omegas who don't in every way fit the stereotype. Even Xing Xiaoyou's ex-boyfriend, what's his name? I can't remember his name. Sorry, guy who's like a influencer or host or something, celebrity host. Even him, he was the closest that we got to the stereotypical Omega look. And even he, he has a nice job. He has he's a bit famous. He's quite. The only time we see him be simpering is in the presence of Huang, who's the apex predator of this world. So that makes sense to me. But outside of that, he seemed just like a normal guy. But Xing Xiaoyou in his mind has this image of what an Omega is. And because of that, Huang had to feed into that in order to fool him. And it worked. It worked because Xing Xiaoyou has this idea of what an Omega is and what an Alpha is. And he's basically pushed himself to fit that mold and that idea. And because of that, probably all of his Omega partners didn't satisfy him because he was viewing them through this lens of what he thinks an Omega is and what he thinks an Alpha is and an Alpha should be. And it's only through meeting Huang that his worldview is turned on its head, shall we say. And he can see that being an Omega doesn't necessarily make you weak. Being on the receiving end of sexual contact doesn't make you weak or less than, etc. It's only through this experience that he's discovering this part of himself that enjoys that enjoys being on the bottom. And it's not just about being on the bottom or the top. It's also just about his relationship to power, right? How does he interact with the ideas of authority and power and privilege, etc. Giving up, being able to give up power, to be okay with not being the apex predator anymore, with not being the top of the top, being able to be vulnerable with somebody else. He finally was able to figure that out with Huang and understand that it's okay. He can be an Alpha who isn't the top of the top. And there's power in that. There's something fulfilling in that, for him. And that's why he starts to, when he starts, getting into his, power bottom, era a couple episodes ago, he was really relishing it, and he was really enjoying that kind of dynamic with Huang, where it's I may be a bottom right now. I may be, pregnant, yada, yada, yada. But that doesn't mean that I'm disempowered. That doesn't mean that my sense of self has to shatter or has to be broken or anything like that. Instead, there's a different kind of power in being vulnerable with someone, in relinquishing control, And I feel like his whole life, he's never had the chance to do that because there's so many expectations of what he needs to be. Most likely from his father. His father has an idea of what an Alpha is and what his heir should be, and he's made Xing Xiaoyou mold himself into that. There's a heavy sense of responsibility with Xing Xiaoyou where he's always felt like he has to do certain things in order to be worthy to be part of the Sheng family and to be his father's heir. As his father's only legitimate heir, it's his responsibility to take care of the family, to take care of his siblings, to make sure everything is going smoothly with the family and at work, to make sure that his father, once he gets ill, can be saved. He has to save him, even though he has this super rare gland cancer. I don't want to say rare, but really difficult to treat gland cancer. It's his responsibility to cure him. You know, it's his responsibility to make sure that the company is okay. These kind of expectations put a lot of pressure on Xing Xiaoyou, and I feel like he's been struggling to let go of that false sense of responsibility, and that's been tied into his gender identity, and his sex identity, sexual and gender identity, really. And it's only through these experiences that he's discovering that they aren't tied together. He can be a high pirate CEO, but also not be the apex predator of their world, you know? Like, he can do that. That's fine. I'm sorry. There's like a fucking gnat in here. It's killing me. I just saw it. Anyway, yeah, so I think there's something interesting. Like, we had that moment, was it last episode or the episode before last? I can't remember. They blend a little bit. Where he made Huang dress him and put his shirt stays back on. And he has that moment where you kind of see him settle into that sense of power that he had, making Huang do that. And there's probably a rush there, you know? He's discovering, through this experience, he's discovering a part of himself that he never knew existed. That he wants to be cherished and taken care of by a maniac like this. That in his whole life, nobody has ever cared for him like this. Nobody has ever focused completely on him like this. So there's a part of him that's relishing it, you know? And I think I just really like the way that the story has unfolded Xing Xiaoyou in a lot of ways. It's why I think that Xing Xiaoyou and Huang are probably my favorite characters, is because they are super interesting. They are definitely super interesting in the way that they have evolved throughout the story. Now, do I still think that the show has some pacing issues and some writing issues that are a little, you know, we could have tightened this up, we could have shifted things? Sure. But all in all, I really enjoyed the character work with those two specifically, and how their stories have progressed as the episodes have gone on. There's just a part of me that wishes that some of it had happened sooner so that we could have more time on the unpacking part of it, on the tail end of it, this part. We could have a little bit more time to explore these different shifting dynamics and expectations that they have for each other and for themselves. But like, I do think that the story is solid in terms of these two, how they have, you know, irrevocably changed each other, you know? I talked earlier about the metaphor of the mermaid and how the change inherent in the physical transformation of a mermaid from half fish to having legs, being able to being fully human, and how that actually applies to both of them simultaneously, but in slightly different ways. At any point you could fit them together as the mermaid and the sailor, and they both experience it. I think that's super interesting, and I think the story has been quite consistent when it comes to their evolutions. So yeah, no, this is good. This is good. I don't know if I have too much else to say. It's been 2 hours, you guys. This is a 2-hour video. You guys are kidding. This is crazy. I had a lot to say this episode about this show. But hopefully you guys have been enjoying it. So, all right. I think that's everything. We're going to wrap it up. And we're going to hit into the finale, you guys. Next week, it's the finale. It's the final episode. I did say that I wanted to try and take a look at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff and the little clips. And then also their performance, because they had a performance as like a pop group recently. So I'll probably check those out. I don't know if it'll be directly after the end of the series, but I will check it out. So I've decided to definitely do that. So if you have videos that you want me to watch for behind the scenes stuff, if you have like a compilation, something like that, send it to me. I don't like to watch I don't like to react to like compilations, because a lot of times it'll have like shows, mixed shows in there that will be that will be stuff that I haven't watched yet or I am currently watching, and therefore it will spoil me. And I don't like that. I like to go into shows as unspoiled as possible. I might only watch a trailer or two, and that's it. So I don't watch compilation videos. That's why I don't react to those. But if you have one that's focused just on like behind the scenes for Desire, send that to me and I'll watch it, you know, for you guys. And we'll check out some of their behind the scenes and some of their performances. I don't do a lot of music on this channel either, except for Shiny. Shiny's the only one that I really listen to in terms of K-pop nowadays, and Shiny solo stuff. So I only really react to Shiny, but I'll react to this song. I think I reacted to one other thing. I reacted to the My Stand-In OST. And then of course I reacted to not Please Don't. Oh my god. K Will's other song. I can't think of the name, but something about tears. Blah blah blah. But anyway, the sequel to Please Don't. I think those are the only music things that I've really reacted to. I feel like I'm missing one. I might have reacted to a GL song, perhaps, but yeah. Either way, send me the compilations of their behind the scenes stuff. I'll watch them. You know, I'll earmark some time, like an hour or two, where I can film some reactions to some of their extra content, because I've really enjoyed the series and these characters and these actors. So, you know, I'm gung-ho to stay in this world for a little bit longer. But all right, let me know what you guys think. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe. Going over to Patreon if you're interested in full length, the full 2 hours of this fucking commentary. For this show as well as other shows. I have a bunch of shows over there. Some are Patreon exclusive. I'm going to soon be starting Kill to Love and Chaser Game W Season 2, if you're interested in those. I'm filming Kimjira right now, and I'm filming Queendom right now, so I will soon be releasing both of those over on Patreon as well. Moving, I'm picking Moving back up. So Moving will start again after Shine ends. Shine is ending in Patreon in a week. Episode 7, I released episode 7 today, and episode 8 will be next week. And then after that, I have a little bit of a break. Oh, no, actually, Moving will start pretty much right after. So Moving will continue on Saturdays there. And then I'll probably start on Chaser Game W Season 2 in a week or two. And Queendom will probably be after that, or close to the tail end of that. And then same for Kill to Love. I'm probably going to start Chaser Game W Season 2 and Kill to Love at the same time. So I'll start releasing both of those. Pit Babe Season 2 is also still airing over on Patreon. That one will probably continue through to November. And then after that, I'll probably do Kimjira after Pit Babe Season 2. I know that Goddess Save Us from Death is going to be airing at the end of October, but I won't be able to watch it in time with the airing. Well, I'll be able to watch it, but I won't be able to release it in time with the airing. So I'm probably going to release it after Kimjira, or close to the end of Kimjira, or something like that. Just because I just don't have time to edit all of this. So I might film it, but I won't be editing it, you know, until later. So yeah. Anyway, that's everything. Let me know what you think, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.
Baby, it's whatever. All this ever, but you long gone, it don't matter.